For everybody else who's following us, as I said, good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock and it's time to go to class. Um, I'm Raúl Mora, also known, at least for my students, as Dr. Berry. Uh, and what you're experiencing today is a live class via Zoom and YouTube. Um, for a little bit of context, Demo Friday, it's part of the Methods and Approaches class where we come together and we do different class activities, different techniques in order to gives my students some tools, some practical tools that they can use once they go into the classroom. These students in this class are 2 semesters away from beginning their student teaching. So anything we can provide and any suggestions we can give them will be most useful uh, in semesters to come. For everybody following us, please let us know what you think about this experience. This is the first webinar of several we're planning to do while we are teaching our classes remotely and virtually. We decided to open the Demo Friday to the public so other people can benefit. You're welcome to leave comments in the YouTube channel. You're welcome to tweet about this. Make sure at least to use the hashtags MATLUPB. That's Methods and Approaches in Teaching of Languages at Universidad Pontificia Bolivariana. That's where I teach. That's where we study. Hashtag Demo Friday. You're welcome to tag LSLP _ Colombia, or you can tag myself at El Patron himself, or just go to the Literacies and Second Languages page on Facebook and leave us some comments. We would love to hear from teachers and students in the audience who are paying attention to this particular webinar and like to hear what they think and they have to say about what we do today. So without further ado, today we're going to be talking about songs and music in the classroom. Songs, music, it's something that we have been using for many years in our language classrooms. So bringing that into the demo makes a great deal of sense because we use this all the time. But sometimes I worry that the way we use it, it's minimizing or underutilizing the potential of a very valuable language resource for students and teachers in class. What have I noticed that are the traditional things that we do? So we usually we play the song and then we give students a sheet like this. And this one is actually taken from the internet. I found it just Googling worksheets and I found this one, a song Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran. And so we do is just put a bunch of the words here and then we leave the blanks. That technically is called a close exercise. So we fill in the blanks and just listen to the song passively and you just fill in, you just put in the words right here. That is one of the things that is incredibly popular among students and teachers in class. Another possibility is, again, filling the blanks one more time, and then having some comprehension questions, but the questions are still very much connected to the song itself, doesn't go further than that. So there is no real conversation and discussion about what we can do with music, with songs. Then there is also this option, and I've done this one myself. I did this one back in the day. So you would just, in here, for example, I chose A Rush of Blood to the Head by Coldplay. And you can see here the little icon for the scissors. And you just cut this into little strips. You jumble them, you put them in a bag, and you give them to the students. They throw on the floor, they listen to the song, and they start organizing the lyrics. What we have seen so far are creative ways to play with songs, but they don't go beyond just the mere listening exercise. Because even sometimes we even have people just listening for the sake of listening, and there is nothing wrong with listening to music just for fun or just for a good time. And sometimes you can play music in the middle of class. I do that too with my students. I play different kinds of songs when they're doing their workshops. So I'm not necessarily judging people who do this, I'm saying these are good ideas, but we can take this beyond. And we can start interrogating the things that we're not doing. And sometimes, and as I said, well, sometimes I feel this FOMO, fear of missing out, and I feel like, okay, what are we missing out when we're not using the songs in other ways? Well, first of all, we're not using songs for critical literacy, so we're not using the songs to question um, social issues or to question everyday affairs or to really think beyond the text and situate the music in a social context. We're not using them to make meaning. We're not using them to really go to create new ways and new forms of text. And we can use them also for content learning. I mean, there are things that we can relate through songs to different elements of the curriculum. So what I'm going to show you today, it's a very small sample. And the objective of this webinar is to give teachers and pre-service teachers and teacher educators more ideas. I mean, this is just my take on this. I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm saying this is what I've done. This is what I've used in class. This is what has worked. And hopefully you can draw from these ideas. You can do something else with this. And if you come up with more ideas, please, I'll give you my contact at the end of the webinar. Send me some more suggestions, because whatever I'm doing here, this is the last time I'm retiring this because it's gonna be on the video. So next time I do songs in the classroom, I'm gonna have to come up with new ideas, because I don't see the point of making a webinar and then repeating this one more time next semester and semesters beyond. So this demo, as it appears in the webinar format and is on YouTube, all the activities I'm doing here, I'm officially retiring them from the methods and approaches to digital languages syllabus beginning next semester. So I think it's important to start changing the narrative around songs, and start thinking of more creative and more curricularly conscious ways to engage with the music. So the first idea I'm proposing here is what I call socially conscious songs. Sometimes and one of the things I've noticed over the years is that sometimes we really listen to the music and we're not paying attention to the lyrics. And that, in the context of a language classroom, is problematic. Because part of the actual action of listening is the whole idea that we can really read the lyrics, even if you're not putting on a piece of paper, that we can really focus on the content, not necessarily just the music, but the content, what the lyrics are saying. Because there are songs in different genres that have very profound meanings, and we need to take advantage of those meanings in a class situation. So for example, and I mentioned some examples of socially conscious music. And if you look at different genres, you're going to find a lot of artists who play songs with social commentary. An important consideration here is that sometimes it's okay if you don't play songs that are top 40 or popular or for this decade. One of the ideas of the language classroom is to expose our students to multiple historical contexts, to multiple periods, parts of history, and even to different musical genres. I mean, our students, sometimes they have very fixed, and we do too, we have very fixed lists on Spotify or Google Play or the Apple Store, and we don't go beyond that. And it's important in the language class to always expand the horizons, broaden the horizons of what we're doing with our students. So I always like to say, well, there are examples in hip hop, rap, rhythm blues, or artists who have been writing very socially conscious music. I always like to start with one of my personal favorites, James Brown. One of his songs, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, a song that came out in the middle of the civil rights movement. And that song stirred a lot of ideas in the time. People like Marvin Gaye in his song What's Going On, or if you look at rappers like Public Enemy in some of the songs that they have that are invitations to think about society and think about better ways to deal as people. The Last Poets, Common, Lupe Fiasco, Keres One, Everlast, The Roots, Childish Gambino. There are and a host of others, and these are just some examples. If you look, for example, at folk and country music, and you look at writers like Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, one of these songs like the one Man in Black, it's a song that is really powerful because when he explains why he dresses in black, and that dressing in black is a way to symbolize the work that needs to be done in the fight for equity. Artists like Tracy Chapman, and thinking of one of her songs talking about revolution, for example. And if we look also at rock, heavy metal, and pop, you're gonna find a lot of artists who are doing interesting songs with social commentary. I just put, for example, Rage Against the Machine, Iron Maiden. And we'll be listening to some Iron Maiden later in the winner. Michael Jackson, Lady Gaga, so many others. These are some of the samples that I usually play in the class. So now I'm just gonna play the first one, and hopefully you can hear it well. It's by The Roots. And at this moment, it's important, and a caveat, because of the connectivity and all that, the video might be a little bit slow. So just have a little bit of patience. Anyways, you can check all these videos. I got them from YouTube, so you can just go and look at them at your own leisure as well. The first song I like to play is The Roots, the song Why They Do, but both because of the lyrics and because of the video itself. So this is one of those multimodal moments where you want to watch both the video and the movie, the video and the song and the lyrics, I'm sorry. Jitters of being live, I guess. So you pay attention to the video and the lyrics as the song progresses. Like, look at the video in general and discuss how it works in the context. Another suggestion I have is looking at the idea of tropes. For those who are not familiar with the idea of tropes, it means it's kind of like it's a storytelling device that people in different genres use because they kind of think that people would notice. So one of the things that the video does is kind of play out with those different tropes. So the whole the shining car, the take on Times Square, the part where they're drinking, the smooth R&B, and they kind of go, okay, they look, okay, you can start looking at, and you can analyze videos looking at what tropes, what common things we find, for example, in videos of similar genres. So what are some of the tropes in rock videos? Or what are some of the tropes in heavy metal videos? Or even what are some of the tropes in reggaeton videos or different genres? And analyze how they play out. Because I mean, if you look at videos across the board, you're gonna find the tropes. So that's a way to kind of start questioning what we watch and what the messages they're sending through the video. Because sometimes we pay attention to the lyrics and the music, but we're missing out a very important element that can be helpful, and it's the visual element of the video. Questions like, does the image really play with the song? I mean, we know there are music videos that you're gonna find that the lyrics and the music are going in one direction, and the images and the video is going in a whole different direction, and they're not creating what we could say is a multimodal text. It's just a text with multiple resources, but there is not a sense of meaning making in that particular production. Another idea, as I said, is the visual features. And then you can have the conversations about the main issues of the songs. In this case, the idea, one of the underlying ideas in the video by The Roots and the lyrics by The Roots is the power of lyrics and how hip hop has always been a vehicle of social commentary. And the song What We Do is kind of questioning if sometimes that social commentary has gotten diluted in the visual imagery, in the tropes, and what we need to do to bring it back. So that's
I'd like to say something.
Angie, go ahead.
Another thing we could do is comparing those videos with the actual ones. For example, Kendrick Lamar does the exact same thing as they today. So we can discuss a problematic that is still in time because years have passed by, but they are still talking about the same trouble.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, and Kendrick Lamar. It's like, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. I do bring it up because I mean there are so many examples one can draw from. But yeah, I've seen some of the videos by Lamar, and I know a lot of people who do like research on hip hop, and thinking right now of a very special scholar, Dr. Bettina Love. If you ever get to listen to this, Bettina, much love to you. I know thank you for the inspiration all over the past few years. And she has used some of those hip hop videos in her own work, particularly Kendrick Lamar's. So definitely, um, I think the possibilities, and that's one of the main objectives of the webinar, is to help you as teachers think of what else you can do. These are just samples, not, and these are just two or three ideas, not, I mean, I haven't even exploited the full potential of the music videos. But yeah, that, for example, comparing even across the same artists, you can do comparisons across genres, across artists, historical, I mean, like even comparisons over time, how artists have developed their visual, and that provides like different layers for discourse analysis as well. Any other thought before I move to the next video?
Teacher, um, I had a question about the role of time, as Angie was saying, but like think about the influence that that has today. Like what has changed in the way. Like, can that be a discussion, or it would be like too far away from the
No,
subject?
thank you for, I mean, that's an amazing, that's an incredible question, Anna. Thank you very much. No, actually, you can look at some of these issues historically, and you can, for example, look at societal issues or issues of civil rights or even environmental issues, and you can start tracing. You can even go, for example, looking at societal issues, you can go all the way back to music from the 1960s, both in English and in Spanish, that we have a lot of protest music in the time that had some social commentary. And then you can look at what people are talking about in 2020 and see, okay, we can compare music from three, or you can say, for example, let's look for social comment, like socially conscious music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the aughts, the 2010s. And let's look at 5, 6 different decades, and let's analyze what, yeah, again, what has changed and what remains the same. Um, and I think that will be a very rich conversation. I mean, we're gonna get to we're gonna go later in the webinar. We'll talk a little bit about music for as historical background. But this is a very good foreshadowing of what the webinar is going to bring next. So thank you for that amazing question. And again, I remind everybody who's watching the webinar that during the webinar, if I don't get to see the questions, I will get to them, or you can contact me through social media, and I will get to your questions. And I will definitely, if I see that it's like a critical mass of questions, I can come up with a follow-up webinar just to answer the questions that people have posed. So second video, I always like this song, and I think as we are home, as we are connected remotely for the reasons we know, I think Michael Jackson's song is one of those songs that it's basically becoming timeless. So I'm playing this one, and then I'll open the forum to the students to think about what we can do with this. All right, I'm back. So here's again the question: what can we do with a song like this, especially in the context we're in the middle of? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
Well, it is a really good example. Oh, sorry. Hi. It is a really good example of all these bad things that are happening. For example, if you right now in this moment look through the window, you'll see the sky is white, and that's not. That's like all contamination, you know.
Yeah.
And in the song says a lot of things like, what about rain? What about killing fields? You
Uh-huh.
know, and this is like uh, taking into account all these. Let's see with killing fields, taking into account this killing, I mean wars and things that are going on right now.
Hmm.
And yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's a way to frame it, Dan. Um, any other thoughts about this?
Maybe make people conscious about the time. Like, we are very selfish these times. We only think about ourselves, and
Hmm.
maybe through this song we can think about like the future,
Hmm.
because we are very, very like bedazzled by the present.
That's correct. Um, I just came with three ideas. Again, in addition to what
Um,
you have
you're,
said already. Felipe, were you going to say something?
yeah, I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt
no,
you,
no.
but
Of course
I
not.
don't know if you saw that the video, the live stream on YouTube was taken down.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and for everybody watching, yeah, that'll be corrected by the time this is uploaded once again. So don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I'm still recording this on Zoom, so it'll happen. So as I was saying, then what we can do with this is first of all we can do video responses. um, I mean, and there are options we can make small short videos using their smartphones. If your students have like Instagram or Instagram Live, they can go live and respond in real time. I know, for example, TikTok has become, I mean, I don't have one, but I know it's become very popular these days. So use those apps that your students are very familiar with and use them as a way to react to the video. And you can even do it reacting in real time. So as you're playing the music, react in real time, and there you go. Um, you can have them write letters or create blogs, or even look for websites and create like database of website related to earth issues. um, if you want to go into a more progressive, you can maybe look for a particular issue that is happening and create a petition for students, and put it public, see how many people react to that, and just look for, I mean, look for ways to get them engaged with the content, with the particular social issues that we want to deal with. Um, the second, the second part we're gonna do, it's something called looking at literary works. So if we look at music, we're going to find that a lot of authors have both inspired musicians or they have drawn from works. So people like George Orwell have inspired, like George Orwell has inspired people like David Bowie, The Offspring, Muse, Incubus, The Eurythmics. Um, William Shakespeare has inspired people as, for some people, as unlikely as Radiohead or Taylor Swift. Aldous Huxley, the author of Brave New World, has inspired bands like the Beatles or the Strokes. The Ramones have inspiration in Stephen King. And then you have some bands that really like to go deep. And interestingly enough, the three bands I have that are heavy metal, those are the ones I was able to find the most examples of, but definitely willing to explore other genres. But Iron Maiden, they have drawn from authors like Aldous Huxley, Edgar Allan Poe, Umberto Eco. They have looked at Greek mythology. Anthrax has drawn heavily from Stephen King. Metallica has drawn from authors like Ernest Hemingway and Dalton Trumbo to write their stories. So the next exercise, I am going to play 5 clips for everybody to listen. 5 clips from 5 songs, and then as you listen, try to connect it, connect the songs to the literary works that they drew from. So the songs are the New Romantics by Taylor Swift, Don't Stand So Close to Me by the Police, The Omega Man by Iron Savior, Killing an Arab by The Cure, and The Thing That Shouldn't Be by Metallica. And the events there, or the literary works they're going to match are I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, the works of H.P. Lovecraft, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, The Scarlet Letter and its 1T, I'll fix that, by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And yeah, I misspelled Hawthorne. I apologize for that. I apologize for the typos in D. And E, The Stranger by Albert Camus.
Can I make
Yes.
kind of an anticipated answer?
Yeah.
Uh, I listen to a lot of Metallica, and I haven't listened yet to the thing that should not be, but I
Uh-huh.
think that H.P. Lovecraft is a really common topic on Metallica's lyric works, and I think that's the that's the answer, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. But let's see if now we'll keep that answer in mind. But let's see if now we can
Okay.
if the music works this time around. Okay, so Dan already said that song number 5, "The Thing That Should Not Be," refers to H.P. Lovecraft. Anybody wants to guess one of the other 4?
Hi.
Yes,
Well, Taylor Swift is the Scarlet Letter.
that is correct. Um, now we got 3 to go.
Okay.
I think Don't Stand So Close to the Police is with Lolita.
Yeah, that's correct. That gives us okay. So that gives us 2 more. Anybody wants to go for take a wild guess on this one?
Well, me again. Hi.
Yeah.
um, The Cure, Killing an Arab,
Uh-huh.
is The Stranger.
Yeah, The Stranger by Albert Camus. And then just by default, the Omega Man is I Am Legend. So a little bit of the answers. So I just here have some of the answers and some of the lyrics that can indicate that, yeah, that's the reference. So yes, the New Romantic by Taylor Swift is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And they actually say literally, we show our different scarlet letters. Trust me, mine is better. And remember, like, yeah, the story that Scarlet Letter is this idea that women who committed certain acts, they were given that A to show that they were not decent or whatever. Lolita, yes, don't stand so close to me with the police. And the final line says he starts to shake, he starts to cough, just like the old man in that famous book by Nabokov. That's correct. Then the Mega Man, Iron Savior, he's the last man alive sentenced to survive. Then killing an Arab, that's a scene, that's actually the scene, literally, that's a scene from the book. The scene with the character in the story, he shoots an arrow in a beach. And then the thing that should not be, just as Dan brought it up, yes, it's not necessarily one work of Lovecraft. Metallica has a few songs that relate to the work. I mean, one specifically is, I mean, the other one I always think about, besides the thing that should not be, is the famous Call of Cthulhu, which is a direct reference to the famous um, mythological character in the Lovecraft literature.
And in 2016, there was another song that yes, they had another song that came out in 2016, and it is called, I don't remember what the name is, but it talks about Cthulhu like very deeply, because the Call of Cthulhu doesn't have lyrics actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
But this one in 2016, yeah, it has the lyrics and it talks about it like more deeply.
I need to look into that. Definitely, that's homework for me.
And then another one that is called All Nightmare Long that
Mhm.
also talks about it. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, so this is important for those of you, especially for those of you who are really into literature. Um, Having the songs as part of the reading of a particular text can be helpful, so students can see how musicians have inspired themselves in the literary work, and use that as this. I mean, even as an entry point to a book. I think we could use, I mean, if we want to, for example, teach a lesson on horror novels, I could start using a lot of heavy metal music by Megadeth, music by Anthrax, music by Metallica, that was based on specific authors in the horror genre. And that's a way, for example, to get students to connect and develop what we call transmedial discourses. I mean, discourses that thread multiple forms of media to create one single larger text. So then the next part, it's this idea of the mixed meanings in lyrics. Sometimes, and this happens especially when for those of us who are second language learners, second language speakers and teachers of English, that sometimes you listen to lyrics and at first you don't pay attention to the lyrics and the song is catchy and you sing the song because it's catchy. And then you go later could be a month, 6 months, 20 years later, and you go back and listen to those lyrics. And then you start realizing, as the famous meme by Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride, that I don't think that song means what you think it means. And that happens very often, even in general, in popular culture. So it's not just for language learners, but in general, there are people who use songs and they use them for one particular meaning that was never the meaning originally intended by the author. And I think this is important in language class because sometimes students sing songs because they like them, but they don't really realize that what they could be singing is something scary or something that is not necessarily positive, or they think it's negative, but it's positive. So it's important to have time in the class where we really look carefully at the meanings of the songs, that students actually sit down and read carefully and analyze what the songs are about. The sample for this song is the song Time of Your Life by Green Day. So for the students, I'll play the video. For the people watching this, I'll just put a still image and then we'll continue the discussion after the video is played. So you listen to this song and what do you think this song is really about? See some quiet, some reflective thinking there. So here's what I can tell you. This is what people think this song is about. So they think this song is about reminiscing the good times. It's a farewell song. Like, yeah, we had the time of our lives. In fact, this song became very, very popular in the past decade. Actually, the first decade of 2000, the odds, it became very popular, and that became like the graduation anthem of the decade. Everybody was playing that song at graduations. But on closer look, the song, even the song itself gives us some clues that I don't think it means what you think it means. I mean, first of all, did you notice the title? The title, yes, the title says Time of Your Life. Okay, let's look again. Did you really pay attention to the title? Because the full title of the song is, in parentheses, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. And here's where you ask the question, do we say good riddance to something good or something bad? I mean, good riddance. I mean, yeah, I don't say good riddance to something good that happened to me and I have to let go. So in reality, the song Time of Your Life, it's actually a breakup song. It's a breakup song that Billie Armstrong wrote to his girlfriend. So that's when you start thinking, this song is not a graduation song. This is a song that is telling like, yeah, I hope you had the time of your life because I didn't. And that's when you have to start rethinking. And this is important again, because sometimes our students are listening to music and they just think it's catchy. The lyrics, I mean, the music is catchy, the sound is catchy. And they haven't realized the actual meaning of the lyrics. And that's one of the functions of our work as language teachers, is to help the students realize the messages they're paying attention to, so they can use them more carefully. I mean, you can still enjoy the music, but you should definitely pay attention to the lyrics of the music you're listening to. And now just gonna start like wrapping up the webinar, and then we can have songs become history lessons.
I have
Yes.
something like an example of,
Yes, Daniel.
as I say, as I see history lessons, but also as this thing of lyrics. Like people, I don't know if you know this see this song called Zombie by Cranberries.
Yeah, yes, that's
Yes, and I mean that the song has a really heavy topic, and the lyrics are really like, let's say crude, where raw,
yeah.
and many people that I know this song because it says zombie very like
Yeah,
really often. But in reality, the song talks about this war that is going on Ireland. This war is like holy wars, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that basically yeah, the war in Ireland that ended with the Good Friday Agreement a few decades ago. Yes.
Yes, and the message is really strong, really heavy. Yes, and that's like an example of that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, again, there are, and it's important to do that. I mean, sometimes we listen to songs, and some songs are like you're not really paying attention to the lyrics. You just kind of like you just Zombie is one of those songs that you sometimes listen to, and people just kind of focus on the chorus or because of the part they can actually say. So it's in your head, and then they don't pay attention to the first part of the lyrics where sometimes the heavy stuff happens. And our work as language teachers is to help students unveil the actual meanings of the songs. Again, you can listen to them for pleasure, but I think in the case of learning a language, and since music has always been an essential part of learning the language, we have had stories since the 1950s and the 1960s of people saying they have learned English by listening to the Beatles, by listening to rock and roll, by listening to Elvis. People in the 90s in the 80s saying that 80s music and rap music has helped them learn the language. So since song has always been a part of the language learning process, we need to be very careful. And we have a social responsibility to help our students really open their eyes about the content they're listening to. It's not censorship, but it's actually developing a sense of consciousness that if you're going to listen to the music, is because you know exactly what the songs are telling you. So I definitely agree with you, Dan. It's important to bring up those issues. And your comment is a good segue for part 4. So history lessons. So I am going to play another 4 songs, but this time I will use the audio directly from the computer. So the 4 songs you see there, and the 4 events on the other column. Um, I'll play a few clips from the songs, and then we'll have the discussion about what these songs are about. So, all right, so we heard the 4 songs, and I already have in the chat people already throwing answers saying yes. Wind of Change, they say yeah. A, they follow the Berlin Wall. So people say Run to the Hills is related to the European Latin America. Um, we just got 2 left. Russians by Sting and Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2. Anybody wants to venture a guess for one of them?
I think Russians is Cold War.
That is correct. And then Sunday Bloody Sunday is actually one of several. I mean, as Dan the Man was pointing out, one of several songs for Irish bands who wrote about the situation of the war in Ireland back in the day. So here are some of the lines that kind of like make references to the particular events. So yeah, those. I mean, I just picked one full stanza that I was playing that they all talk about this. So yes, "Run to the Hills" is mostly from the view of the indigenous people. "Wind of Change" is kind of like, yeah, hopefully things will get better now that snow is falling. Yes, somebody was. Oh, okay. So this is one way you can do it. You can say, okay, you can have them connect the historical events to the songs, and then there are videos that you can use also. And this one will be the last sample. because this is basically a history lesson in 3 minutes. Yeah, I agree with you, Miss Super Mario. That is a really catchy song, a really cool song from the 1980s. We didn't start the fire of Billy Joel. So when you think about the things we can do with this, and I'm just gonna have some ideas, and then if you have others, just cut me off and just speak up. There's no problem with that. One thing you can do, for example, yeah, and I agree with you on Billy Joel rocks. It's we can create a wiki, or we have descriptions of the events. I mean, there are a lot of events, a lot of characters from like in the 1950s all the way to the 1980s. It's like a 30-year rundown of history, and it covers a lot of political events, a lot of tragedies, a lot of movements, social movements from the times. You can, for example, look for updated versions. I actually when I teach the class live, I play update videos. So there's one update video that actually covers the 1990s, and there is another video that covers the 2000s. I haven't seen 2010 or 2010 update. I know for sure that the 2020 update, it's gonna start with the coronavirus. That much I know. Another thing you can do is consider that Billy Joel writes, like most of his music, it's around his life in Brooklyn and New York. So I'm thinking about how different a version of We Didn't Start the Fire look like if you just focus on a different city. Like, for example, if you wrote We Didn't Start the Fire, but based on Chicago, there will still be baseball references, but definitely not about the Brooklyn teams. It will be mostly about the Cubs and the White Sox, and a lot of reference to the Chicago Bears. Probably not so much as the basketball, but definitely Chicago Bears, White Sox, the Cubs will be there. Or Latin America, what would We Didn't Start the Fire look like here in Medellin? What would we sing about? What would be the highlights that the We Didn't Start the Fire version of here bring up in addition to the world events? Or what other world events would a local version of We Didn't Start the Fire highlight? You could even refocalize the song and think about, okay, this is a song that in the 80s, it was an adult. What would the version look like if the teacher wrote it? Like, for example, you as young teachers, what would that version look like from the part of your life you lived so far? As opposed, for example, to my version, that I'm slightly older than you are, or your students. What would your students really focus on? What would be those 3, 5, 6 years they want to talk about sound like? So those are options for a song in the songs that actually do rundowns of historical events. I don't know if anybody has any ideas or want to say add something to the conversation at this point. Any thoughts? Well, in that sense, then I'm going to start wrapping this up. And for people who are watching the webinar and for you, there is one particular book I recommend, and I recommend it very, very particularly because I know the authors very well. So this book recontextualized a framework for teaching English with music, edited by Professors Lindy Johnson and Christian Gehring. Again, two amazing, amazing, brilliant scholars of language arts education, people whose work I strongly recommend you should read, you should follow, you should check out their websites, their Twitters. They're just brilliant scholars, and I'm happy to know both of them well. From that particular book, I have selected 3 chapters that I have used at different intervals. One is by Liana Cortez Santiago, is about language, popular music, critical conversations. One by Crystal Lavul about hip hop, and then Darren Rem talking about hip hop and social change, and how we can bring critical pedagogy in the classroom through hip hop and through urban music. Anybody who's watching the webinar, if you want to look more about the entire Demo Fridays and what the Demo Fridays look like, you're welcome to visit my website. So you can go to elpatronhimself.net /demo weekdays.html, and I call it Demo Weekdays because As the course is scheduled on different days of the week, sometimes the demo is on Thursday, sometimes the demo is on Friday. So I call the page Demo Weekdays. What you will find on the Demo Weekdays page is going to be a bunch of PDF files with a lot of links to different sites that I have used as reference to prepare the demos. They're there for you to take a look at. You can download them. If you get to look at the Demo Weekdays page, please let me know what you think. Send me a comment, send me a message, send me a tweet. And finally, just before I stop the recording, because then after the recording, I'll have a debriefing with the class for a few minutes. Thank you, everyone, for paying attention to the webinar. Again, you're welcome to contact me. My official email is raul.mora@upb.edu.co. You're welcome to check out my website, once again, elpatronhimself.net, and follow me on Twitter at elpatronhimself. Also, I encourage you to check out the research lab that I run with an amazing group of young scholars, pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, college professors, called the Literacy and Second Languages Project Lab. One of our students in this class, Andres, he's actually one of the members who does research on video games. So you can email us at literacysignaltoproject@gmail.com. Check our website, literacysignaltoproject.org, or you can tweet, interact with us on Twitter at LSLP_Colombia. And I just leave you with the final farewell from two very special characters that are part of our life. The infamous Clan MacLeod. Here is Connor MacLeod, and that's Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. So on behalf of my students and behalf of everybody, I really appreciate your time. I hope the conversation will continue and not end on the webinar, but the webinar should be the trigger for more extended, deeper conversations about this. Any thoughts you have, any questions you have, be happy to interact. And again, if there is a possibility for a follow-up webinar with questions that you have that triggered by the webinar, I'll be happy to continue with that. So thank you very much. And I quickly remind you that next Friday, there will be another webinar. That one will be on slam poetry. I will be sharing the details on social media within the week. So once again, thank you very much, and good afternoon and farewell.